Hey guys, Frank with Natural Surf Technique. I'm down here in Santa Monica today, and the last few days we've had a swell come in from the south, and we have low tides. And a question I get is, how do we practice when the conditions aren't favorable? So this is low tide. We're looking at, head high to a little overhead on the sets, completely walled. Swell's coming from the south, so we know the current is going to move from south to north. So there's going to be a current. So if you go out, you're going to drift in this direction. The tide is so low, I get that question off, how do we practice in this kind of conditions? Well, it's tough. And even with a coach, it's really tough. But there are certain things you can do. And what you're going to hope for is learn how to read the whitewash. Know that you're not trying to go out too far. You're just working on a basic part of your surfing. So it's probably a day like this, picking the board up, facing it directly at the beach, paddling, watching the whitewash. Pick a side, left, right side. Keep your head up as you're paddling because the whitewash has got power. So you can keep your head up higher all the way till the whitewash pushes you. Now, if it's a really small, weak whitewash, you can lower that chin as it starts pushing you to help a little bit with momentum. But on a day like this, the whitewash has got enough energy. So you keep your head up for two reasons. One, we don't want that nose to catch. It's low tide. So with low tide, you can catch the nose pretty easy with the power coming up behind you. So you're keeping your head up a little bit higher. You are watching the whitewash to gauge. You don't have to start paddling very much until the wave starts hitting you. Because the power is already broken. It's not an actual wave where you got to paddle and get going down the front of it. It's already whitewashed. So you turn and you lift your head up as high as you can. And right as the wave starts pushing, you might take a couple paddles with not lowering the chin at all. So from that position, what you're doing is working on hand position. So you can watch the whitewash and it comes up and it starts hitting you pretty hard. A lot of people want to grab, and some situations you're going to have to almost. But what you're going to really shoot for is getting the heel of the palm to the middle of the board. So the middle of the board is just always below your chest, which is basically where your ribs meet. That's going to be about roughly the middle of the board for almost everyone, no matter what size board you're on. And your focus is going to be to get your heels of your palm right in this position. So when you lift up, you're going to work on the slide up technique and go up to your feet down the middle. There's slide up technique stuff on some of the other posts that I made. But developing that skill really keeps you down the middle of the board, keeps your hips and toes and knees low. So there's not a lot of room for space when you jump. A lot of times when we jump, sometimes we jump too high and we don't get our feet in the right spot. So I don't encourage the jumping. I've been working with the slide up technique a long time, and definitely out of all the techniques that I've been using over the 30 years I've been teaching, the slide up has definitely developed the best overall platform to work from. So days like this, what are you gonna do? Catch your whitewash, practice getting your hands here before you go to your feet. Remind yourself, feet have to stay together. If your feet do not stay together, you are going to have issues, because once the feet go out, the tail's going to want to lift too much. Then you're going to catch the nose because of that. What do we do from that? As a beginner, a lot of times people start scooting back on the board, which is going to put you in a bad place on the board. So my advice is go out halfway to where the whitewash is breaking. You don't want to go too far out. It's a lot of power, and there's rip tides, so you can get sucked out pretty easy. So you want to stay in about waist deep water and maintain that place. Don't get pulled out. You have to be careful in the ocean. It can surprise you as soon as you start laying on the board. That's why I encourage you to lift the board, turn it toward the beach before you lay on it. And when you do that, you're going to grab the middle of the board, come up from one side or the other, slide up onto the board, facing directly at the beach. If you're on an angle, so if the wave's coming at you straight ahead like this and your board's on an angle, if it hits the corner of that tail and not plush in the back, what's going to happen is the board's going to roll. So you have to be perpendicular. This is for beginners. As you get better, you know how to lean. You start developing those skills to be able to lean and compensate a little bit. But for the beginners out there, it's best to stay perpendicular. catch the whitewash, then lean a little bit, get the hands back, go to your feet. Never look down, look where you're going. Looking down creates some bad habits, so when you're catching actual waves. Looking up is going to be the best case scenario for technique, because that's what you want to do on a wave. You don't want to look down at your board, you want to look in the direction you're going. So practice properly by looking where you want to go. Like I said, the whitewash sometimes is going to be abrupt and you're going to want to grab. You got to refrain from trying to go up that way, because going up by holding onto the rails is going to be very difficult to get your front foot to the right spot, and it's going to build a bad habit for when you're out there catching actual waves. So anyway, this is just a tip for how do we practice when the waves are big and walled and we're at a beach break and the tides might, be kind of low like they are today. Point breaks are really crowded. You can go to Malibu, you can go to Topanga, you can go to Sunset, all these places, but they're so crowded, and you're just not going to catch very many waves if you catch any at all. So just a tip for you beginners out there who are just getting started and want to practice properly, and I hope that helped you guys. Thanks a lot. Frank with Natural Surf Technique. Take care, guys.